Hi all, welcome aboard Marji Bee. In this video, it's a hot one on the River Thames. We see some questionable lock etiquette. We see lots of different rowing boats up and down the river. Petra gets in for a swim because it's so hot, and we even managed to get 4 of us on the paddleboard. So we'd love it if you could join us on our trip. And in usual fashion, we set off upstream towards Rushy, where we found the first of a lot of rowing boats that we found that weekend. Just need to press the go. A couple of funny things happened at this lock, because first off, whilst the lock was filling, this fella that was on the lock gate that was with the rowing boat has decided to close one of the sluices whilst the lock was filling, which surprised me, but I noticed it and mentioned it to Petra.
Do you want to open that one up? No, the other one. It's closed.
And the reason that you would keep the sluices open is A, it obviously helps with equalising the water level right at the end, but secondly, it actually makes opening the gate initially a lot easier, as water will flow through the sluice. And then as we left the lock, we found the rowing boat that this guy was helping through was across the lock cut instead of being on the lock landing, but we quite easily manoeuvred ourselves around it. It wasn't really a problem, but the lady had a word with us.
Slow down a bit.
She asked us to slow down. We actually couldn't have been going any slower, to be honest. It did make us laugh. We then continued our cruise up towards Radcott Lock. And it wasn't long before we saw another rowing boat. Is this a skiff? I'm not sure what its terminology is, but it was very narrow at that point.
I knew it was narrow with that bit, with a lot of reeds either side, so I thought I better stop. I don't want to get.
Water's so wide.
Yeah, so we pulled in and let them through because it was a very narrow part of the river there. And it's easier for us to pull in than it would have been for them anyway. And as we arrived at Radcott Lock, we found our next piece of questionable lock etiquette, because the guidelines on the River Thames are that you leave the lock empty and gates closed, and we found this one full and the paddles open at the top end.
They might have been very polite with it.
To be fair, it only added a few minutes to our trip, emptying the lock, so no damage done. And one big difference with our cruising on this day was that we had the canopy up to give us a bit of shade, because it was a hot one.
What are you doing?
And here's the first bit of evidence of it being a hot day, as Petra felt that she needed to dunk her feet into the lock as it was filling.
Right. I bet they'll be dry by the time you get back on board. Oh, that's a nice breeze.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And suffice to say that as we passed through the lock, Petra, on closing the gates, went down and opened the lower sluices to empty the lock as she should do.
Don't drop your shoes in the water, eh?
Central.
It's a bit. Just got to be vigilant.
And this was a funny one at Grafton Lock where the hire boat that was ahead of us approaching
Well, we're
it
going to
just
get blown onto here to start with.
drifted up to the lock gates and waited them for it to open rather than being sat on the lock landing. But I don't think they really knew any different, to be honest. But it wasn't a problem,
I meant
and
to
we
come
just
over here. I was
held
waiting
back
till I'm
on the
called in.
landing until we were called in.
Yeah, I thought it was. Good afternoon. We nearly didn't come out. We thought it was too hot.
It is.
Yeah, we know to wait.
Hi doggies. Very hot.
Yeah, they got their cool coats. They're like ice boxes underneath those coats. They're fantastic. I'll go for this one. Have a lovely afternoon. Thanks very much. Cheers. See you again.
Now our plan was that we wanted to stay at Kelmscott this afternoon so that we could moor up there, have a play around on the paddleboard, and head into the plough in Kelmscott for a cool drink. So we were very happy to see this mooring free for us to pull up at for the afternoon.
Chop away ropes to me and then put your shoes on.
Yeah.
And while I fed the fish in the river, Petra decided that the better way to stay cool was to jump on the paddleboard and have a little play. But then, quite bravely I thought, she decided that actually just dipping your legs in on the paddleboard wasn't cooling enough. So she actually got in and went for a swim as well, which, like, hats off to you, Petra. I wasn't up for that. Maybe another time. I did jump on the paddleboard myself and briefly considered getting in, but I just didn't fancy it. Although we did very nearly take an unplanned dip, as we had all four of us on the paddleboard for a while.
Hetty. Hetty. We're all on the paddleboard. Swimming in a minute. This is not going to end well. Sorry if I talk. Thankfully, I was filming that. Right, this is not going to end well.
Thankfully, we survived unscathed and safely made it back to Marji Bee. And after the fun and games on the river, we thought the best way to relax after that would be to have a nice cool glass of cider at the Plough Inn in Kelmscott, which is just past Kelmscott Manor from our mooring, which was the country home of the writer and designer William Morris in the late 1800s. And so after a lovely day messing about on the river and on the paddleboard and visiting the Plough Inn at Kelmscott, we reflected on such a lovely day and how much we enjoyed it, and settled in for the night. But our morning started as it usually does, fighting for space in the bed around Eddie and Parker, who also think it's their bed and generally get as much room as us. But we got up, had our breakfast, and we took a walk upriver towards the anchor moorings, and then round into Kelmscott and back. And if you've ever walked along the Thames Path on the Upper Thames, you'll notice these pillboxes, which are all remnants of World War II defences using natural barriers such as rivers as a line of defence. And after our walk and tidy up aboard, we headed off back downstream towards Grafton Lock.
Lark cries. Remember that one? It was a nice guy.
On our way down to Grafton, we caught up and passed Dennis and Rachel in acanthus, who were tickling along looking for a spot to pull in and pop the kettle on.
I'm going to pull in and have a cup of tea in a minute.
Ah, right, okay.
So we continued on down to Grafton and pulled in at the water point to top up there. And here started a bit of a sociable gathering. Lee and Danny were not on duty that day, the lock keepers at Grafton, but they'd been to the Grafton Tennis Club the night before for an event there, so we're up at the lock and we're around for a little catch up. And then Dom Pedro arrived with Pete and Ali aboard, who joined in with the impromptu chat. And this is all part of why we really love the Upper Thames. It is such a sociable place to be. And we actually spent so long chatting away in the beautiful afternoon sun that Dennis and Rachel caught up after they'd stopped for a cup of tea and joined us in the lock.
Oh, good.
And Rachel was kind enough to usher us aboard and say that she would close the gates behind them and see us down at the next lock.
Yeah. This is very kind of you. Thank you very much for this. That's much appreciated. We will reciprocate someday.
Oh, don't worry.
And being such a beautiful summer's day, the usual hotspot of Radcott was teeming with paddleboarders and people enjoying the river. And it was at this point, reviewing the footage afterwards, that I realised that the GoPro had a bit of a smudgy lens on it, which I think was possibly down to when it took a bit of a dunk in the river when we had all four of us on the paddleboard the previous afternoon.
We'll go down as far as we can.
And I didn't quite wipe the lens properly, so apologies for the quality of this view. It's not meant to be soft focus. And as we thought might happen, Dennis and Rachel caught up with us again in the campus.
They're not going to fit to the side of you, are they? You good?
And Rachel insisted on ushering us out of the lock again, and that is so appreciated. It's always nice. It's always nice when that happens. There was a fishing match between Radcott and Rushy, so we kept speed to a minimum and kept out of their way, so we disturbed them as little as possible.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Maybe next time we come out and it's nice, I might bring some of those extra cushions. Just put on the front there.
Yeah.
And all too soon we were back under Tadpole Bridge and swinging back into our home mooring. Pete and Ali continued on downstream because they were gonna stay the night a little bit further down towards Shifford. But we moored up and headed home. after a lovely weekend, hot weekend out on the river. Now I've started having a bit of trouble mooring up at our dock. The stern hasn't been swinging in quite like it used to, and it dawned on me with this docking here that what it is the river is so low at the moment and our mooring is so shallow that I'm pretty sure the keel is just dragging in the silt on the bottom and just stopping the stern from swinging in. So I don't know, maybe I'll have to get in there with a bit of a rake and either dig out a channel or just go around in circles for an afternoon in and out to churn out a little groove with the propeller. But
It would take the strap off.
we safely got in eventually to tie up and leave Marji Bee safe and sound.
It would take the strap off. You got it
Well,
now.
that's the end of another trip out on the Thames with myself, Petra, Eddie and Parker. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you come back to join us on another adventure out on the river.